and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman with Brewster Kahle, computer engineer, internet entrepreneur, digital librarian, and Rick Prelinger, who is an archivist, writer, filmmaker, founder of the Prelinger Archives, collection of 60,000 films. Brewster Kahle, you're trying to build a library of every book ever published.
Yes.
What are you doing?
The idea is we can build a Library of Alexandria version 2. All the books, music, video ever published can be available to anybody, anywhere that is curious enough to want to have access. That is our technological capability at this stage. The idea in digital form, you can actually put that in a small room in terms of all of this in digital form. The physical materials, of course, also need to be protected and come much larger. But the digital material can be digitized and made available, copyright willing, to anywhere, anybody, anywhere.
You have fought Google over their digitizing of libraries and your fear of their privatizing major libraries in this country. Explain that battle.
Yes, Google launched a very ambitious project to digitize some of the great libraries of the world. And what became clear as this unfolded, and there were some lawsuits, that their ambition was much more than just being a search capability, is to be the bookstore, the library for the world. And we don't need the library for the world. We mean a library system. We mean many libraries, lots of different perspectives. And there was a lawsuit we helped on the anti-Google side in filing amicus briefs. And we won that one. So that the one library to rule them all has been slowed down or stopped. Now is our possibility to build an open library system using some of the technologies of the Googles and Yahoos and Microsofts to be able to build something really great and distributed.
What they were trying to do with the various libraries from Harvard to other libraries was they would digitize them, then they would have, what, the rights to them?
They were digitizing the public domain works and basically putting those under contractual obligations. So now you can't even download the Google Books without typing in a obscure phrase to be able to get one book at a time. This doesn't make any sense. Then they took the out-of-print works, the 20th century works, and they had this scheme to go and have basically make it into one big bookstore and license it so that people can only access it through Google in libraries. And this, of course, doesn't make any sense either. And so that was the thing that has been most recently stopped.
And in the meantime, Internet Archive was scanning books and making them publicly available with no restrictions, and we built up an extremely large open library.
I went to archive.org in San Francisco and saw the machines where people sit and they turn the pages as you scan these. And this is happening. You're doing this around the world?
We're doing this in 26 locations in 6 countries. It costs us about 10 cents a page, or about $30 a book, to photograph and then make it accessible and searchable for anybody. And this works for not only the older books, the public domain works, but the more recent books where we're making them available to the blind and dyslexic for free, also via lending. So one copy can be circulating digitally, emulating the restrictions of the old library system to be able to make it so that people can have access to the long tail of materials that may still be under copyright but not accessible commercially.
This goes to one of our questions that sent into our Facebook page. Larry Nocella asked, quote, I admire the idea of preserving all that television footage, talking about the 9/11 project, but it seems a bit like information overload. Will the archival footage also have transcripts? How will it be searchable?
Boy, is that the big question. When you have this much material, and we have now millions of television hours, how do you move through it? We have the electronic program guides for everything, but that only gets you down to an hour of television. And for American television, fortunately, we've got the closed caption data, which has been put on top of television broadcasts because of the, to aid the deaf. We've been recording those since 2002. So as newer archives than the September 11th archive become available, those will be searchable, and you can find them based on speaker, what was said, across at least the American collections. We're working with the universities to try to get speech to text to get the rest of it.
Rick Prelinger, you're working on an interesting project, a non-corporate view of history in the world. Explain your home movie project.
Right. I've been a home movie archivist and collector for a number of years, part of a very active community, especially of emerging archivists. And home movies are astonishing because they're, as you say, personal, not corporate expression. They're individuals witnessing history, not simply great events, but also history of everyday life. And we're building a home movie collection at the Internet Archive for all of us to compare, understand, experience, to reuse, and for the use of scholars. And we hope that this will really change the way that people look at film, because film is not just movies that you go to and pay $10 to see. Movies are also the way we look at each other.
How are you collecting these home movies?
Many of them come from families who contribute them. Some of them are, you know, the usual estate sales, eBay, all that sort of thing, just trying to rescue these bits that would otherwise be landfilled.
Brewster Kahle, do you think computers have improved the world? Are you concerned about the same way people benefit tremendously from having such incredible access to information? It is concentrated information and is gathering information on all of us.
What a mixed blessing we've built. When we've done out the graphs of how websites are used, the blessing is that even if you're in the top 100,000 websites, you have a way of getting to a worldwide population. This wasn't true when I was growing up. You either made it in the top 10, top 20 of whatever, or you're basically marginalized. On the other hand, we have 10 organizations that control 20% of all of the web viewing. 10 organizations worldwide. This is an enormous concentration of power. So the idea of making a distributed network has allowed concentration as well as distribution. We tend to be on the distribution side, but it's a mixed blessing.
And where are you building your library?
We're building a physical library now and archiving physical books in Richmond, California. So these books are protected in boxes and then in converted shipping containers to be able to handle the environmental controls. And then then in warehouses protected by nonprofits. The digital materials we can make copies of. And we have 2 copies within the United States, and we have a partial copy in Alexandria, Egypt, which is, I guess, fitting, as we have a large-scale swap agreement with them to archive their materials and they archive ours. And also in Amsterdam, we have a partial copy. If there are 5 or 6 copies of these materials worldwide, I think I'd feel safe.
We have to wrap on that. I want to thank you, Brewster Kahle, and you, Rick Prelinger, remarkable digital archivists and librarians. That does it for our show. Democracy Now!, by the way, has an immediate opening for an experienced audiovisual archivist. For more information, you can see the job description at democracynow.org.